Sisters, welcome to the Sisterhood Spotlight Series, the place to be to learn how to live, love, and lead with devotion to a soulful and world-changing mission, and to learn how to create success on your own terms using a feminine approach to leadership for more flow, freedom, and fulfillment. So today I'm super excited to bring you a new perspective from a mom, which I am not, but this is such a great added bonus for us to get a mom's perspective, and a mom expert pretty much is my sister Gervase Colmos. And Gervase is a mother to a 2-year-old who is super adorable and awesome. And she is also the founder of Shiny Happy Human, a movement for mothers to reclaim their identities as women. And she believes that by celebrating beautifully messy mommies, we can raise the next generation of authentic, fulfilled, and fearless females. And that by showing her self-love, forgiveness, and compassion, she's simultaneously teaching her daughter to do it someday for herself. So welcome.
Thanks, love. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, so my first question for you, we'll just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about your journey to getting where you are today with your business and your lifestyle that you've created for yourself, and what has been happening for you in the past year. I know it's been a huge year for you, so
Yeah.
about how it's evolved and what really inspires you to continue creating.
Okay. Inspires me to continue creating. Well, I'm going to answer that question first.
Okay.
Because my first instinct was to say my daughter is what inspires me, but I think there's something to be said for the inspiration and creativity that I was just born with, and it's always around you as a woman. You hear like the whispers. I would always be writing stories in my head before my daughter was born, after she was born, and it's just that choice whether or not you're going to, grab onto that and create something from it. It reminds me of Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. I don't know if you've read that, but she talks a lot about creativity being all around us, and it's just whether or not you choose to answer the call. And so I just feel like creativity is what inspires me. And it is a really fun practice for me. And my journey, the short version, I started my business, Shiny Happy Human, about 1.5 years ago. And at first, at the time, I was getting certified by Coach Training Alliance as a life coach, and sort of knew that coaching was something that combined all these gifts that I had already been using my whole life of, listening and asking powerful questions and helping clear away all of the muck in a person's story and just get to, the gem of it. And, but I was coaching, I said, what am I specialized in already? And it was like moms, wives, and siblings, because that's always been a big part of my life. And then probably about 1 year ago, I was like, who am I kidding? All I talk about is motherhood. Like, that's what's like present for me right now. And I feel like that's where the need is, like there's, as you know, like there's plenty of talented coaches out there, but I don't feel like there's a lot working with mothers and addressing the unique challenges mothers are facing right now as, new mothers. So that's when I shifted my business to focus on new mothers. And yeah, I mean, what was the second part of your question? It was like, a little bit about my journey, what inspires me. But right now I coach new mothers. I do one-on-one coaching, and I have a group program called Reclaim You. And my business is kind of moving in this new direction. So do you want me to talk a little bit about that? Or
sure.
Does that answer the question?
If you want to go into it, you can.
Sure. So in my work with women, especially when I would do these workshops, in-person workshops, I did Mom's Night Off. And I get like 8 to 10 women together, moms together in a room. And sometimes they would know each other and sometimes they wouldn't. And I would notice that there was something magic that happened, like that's where like the real juice was. And once you got them to share openly and honestly in this safe, supportive space, there was this thing that was happening where they were like, oh, me too. Oh, I'm not the only one, right? And when it was not just venting, it was, you know, moderated discussion. So we always at the end shifted from venting and bitching to, you know, transformation and action and shifting mindsets. And what are you going to do to take control of your own situation instead of complaining about all the things that aren't going right? And the power of accountability there with all the women watching was, I felt like I had to tap into it. I was like, I need to do this on a larger scale. I really enjoy it. The women really enjoy it. So I started my first virtual kind of like online university really for mothers, and it's called Reclaim You with a U University. And it's just aligns with my mission to help mothers reclaim their identities as women, right? And I think you'll really appreciate this, but in support of sisterhood, because it's one thing to take that stand one-on-one and work with a mentor or a coach to make it happen, but when you're surrounded by that sisterhood that is holding you and protecting you and saying me too, and seeing you through a different lens. You know, the really amazing thing that happens in this program is somebody's gonna, you know, somebody might share something that's going on and how they're feeling, and I usually leave a little room for another sister to jump in and say, actually, I see you this way. Or I was thinking that you're like the strongest woman I know because of A, B, and C. So it's so weird to me that you see yourself as D, you know? So that magic of sisterhood just kind of happens in this program. And I really wanted to help foster that with mothers specifically. So it's an 8-week course. There's weekly lessons, a private Facebook group, and then there's live coaching calls every week for everybody to hop on together and really get to know each other a little bit better.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. If I were a mom, I would totally be in. If and when.
Yeah, girl. You got you.
So my next question for you, you touched on the mission of what you do, your big why behind what you do. But I'm curious to know, because I know that this comes up for you, and specifically as a mom and having a daughter that you are influencing in every moment, and you're a leader and an example for her. What does leadership really mean to you, and how do you walk your talk as a leader in your life and in the world?
That is such a good question. So what does leadership mean to me? So to me, leadership is about being comfortable in your own skin and being authentically yourself, unapologetically. I worry that my daughter is growing up in a world that worries way too much about being a way they think they should be, acting a way they think they should be, having a career that is, you know, gets the stamp of approval according to a certain system, but that leaves her feeling really maybe unfulfilled or like she's not able to express herself. So my idea of leadership, the way that I try to walk my talk, is by just being unapologetically myself all the time. I always talk about this, you know, with the women that I coach, and, you know, my business is called Shiny Happy Human because I really wanted to talk about the shiny, the happy, and the human moments of not just motherhood, but just life that I was experiencing, that I felt like I wasn't seeing that reflected in the world. And I was like, am I the only one? Like, do I live in a different world from everybody else, you know? So to me, leadership was about taking a stand for that and saying, like, no, this is actually real life. Like, this is actually what's going on the other side of, you know, social media or, you know, the Pinterest perfect. And not that, you know, social media is just a flawed system, right? Like, you post one picture and it's supposed to convey everything, and it doesn't. And so, you know, I do the same thing. Like, I post a picture and I think it looks great, and people could make a bunch of assumptions, but I think on top of that, it's like telling the truth that goes along with that picture, or not just posting pictures from the shiny and the happy moments, you know, or if it's not social media, then it's just talking to women. And I think leadership has shown up that way, probably more than any other way for me in my career is just talking with other mothers. And, you know, like recently I had a group of women, and one was talking about when she was pregnant. She was like, well, I didn't enjoy being pregnant. And I was like, oh yeah, like I had prenatal depression, and like, let's talk about it. Right. Like there's no shame there, and there's no stigma. It's just us sharing our experiences. And it feels like a gift to be in this like leadership position. That night I was doing, you know, like a meetup group, and to say, yeah, totally normal. You're not the only one. Here's my experience. And so by sharing that, I feel like I hope that I'm walking my talk.
Mm-hmm. From here, it looks like you are. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of piggybacking off of that, which is defining success on your own terms. And what does that really look like for you, specifically in your life, in your business, as a mom? How do you define what is successful for you?
Success. So I talk a lot about having it all, right? Like never settling for this idea that like, oh, well, I'm a mom now, so this is it. This has got to be it. It's like, if it doesn't feel like it's it, it's not it. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, success to me is just a feeling. And I think my version of having it all is flexibility, feeling like whatever I'm doing professionally and personally, like the life that I'm living, I am feeling confidently that I'm a role model for my child, and for those around me, that I'm able to just inspire anybody that I meet with my authenticity, and obviously having a fulfilling marriage and the friendships. But I think it changes, you know, it really changes based on your season. Like, I mean, as a new mom, it's going to look super different than when the kids are, you know, grown, and it's a different focus. But right now for me, it's having a say in my schedule, having dominion over what I choose to create each and every day, and showing up fully as a role model that I want to be for my daughter right now, and not backing away from anything because it feels too big or too scary or new. It's like, that's good. Lean into that, because that's where transformation happens. So I think that's what success means to me.
Beautiful. I feel like I want to touch on something, because you have such a unique perspective as a mom that I don't have, and that a lot of women around me don't have yet. And I'm curious to know, like, you started your business once you had your daughter, right? It wasn't before.
No.
So how did you navigate that space of like, okay, I'm a new mom, and I love my daughter more than anything, but I'm also feeling like maybe there's something else that I should be doing, or that I'm feeling called to do in my life professionally, or aside from being a mom, or for my own fulfillment in a sense, even though it does tie in with motherhood for you. But can you speak to that a little bit of what that transition was like?
That's a very good question too, because I think a lot of women have this misconception that to be a good mom equals time, right? Like if you spend X hours a week with your child, then that equals being a good mom. And I also know a lot of moms that work full-time jobs and spend less time, but are more present, you know, when they are with their kids, and probably are getting, it's the same, right? Because time it's not about time. It's not about how much time you spend. It's about the quality of that time. And I think you're teaching your children lessons all the time, even when you don't think you are. So to me, I grew up with a working mom, surrounded by working moms. So I never thought that I was not going to be a working mom. That being said, like when I got pregnant, I definitely had some weird things come up where I was like, well, like maybe I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, like no fair, you know, like doing the whole victim thing, like we're a 2-income household, it's not fair. And I mean, just to give you a little bit of background about my story, like I went back to my corporate job in publishing when my daughter was 3 months old, and it was super, super, super hard. I was crying like every day, like multiple times a day. I had trouble with childcare. I didn't enjoy my job. I hated leaving her. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But when I came down to it, I ended up quitting. Just let's fast forward a second. I ended up quitting when she was 6 months old. But when I really looked at what was making me so unhappy, I don't think it was necessarily that I was a working mom. It was that I was doing work that was comfortable and safe and boring. And I felt like that meant that I wasn't acting as the role model that I really needed to be, because I couldn't like look at myself in the mirror if I didn't feel proud of that person. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, like when you become a mom, it's like you just have to make peace with the person in the mirror, and it's not about any status or, you know, staying at home or working or whatever. It's just like, are you being the best version of yourself? And you're going to know if you're not. You know what I mean? Like I just had an interview with Kiva Leatherman, who is like amazing. And she said she was home knitting sweaters in front of the TV. She taught herself how to crochet with her 2 kids. And she suddenly was like watching a Barack Obama speech. And she was like, this isn't it for me. You know, like this is totally a cop out, and this is kind of fun. But, you know, for me, I'm really playing small right now, and I'm really just pretending to be this other person that I am not. And so I think that is such good advice for new mothers. You know, let go of what you think the preconceived idea is of how many hours a week are you spending with your kid, or are you working, or are you staying at home, blah, blah, blah. Like millions of kids grow up with working moms, and they grow up to be amazing human beings with really fantastic relationships with their parents, and vice versa. It's not about that. It's about you looking yourself in the mirror and thinking, what am I doing? Can I do better? Is something calling to me? Like, does it feel that tug? And for me, that's what it was. You know, I was like, this job is not it. There's something better. I need to quit and figure it out on the other side. And then immediately I found life coaching, and I was like, yup, this was that thing. Oh crap, this is scary. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, because I don't know anything about coaching, you know? So that was like a new challenge. But what a gift to my daughter to watch, you know, her mother reinvent herself for like the 5th time as a new mom. So it's not like, you know, it's letting go of all of those barriers that we create.
Mm-hmm.
That answers your question.
Yeah. Yes. I was listening to a podcast recently. I think it was Elizabeth D'Alto's podcast. And one of the, I think it was during Manvember, she was talking to one of the guys, and he was talking about parenting, and he was like, don't read one parenting book before you actually have a kid. He was like, the most important thing that matters, like read all the personal development you can, and get right with yourself and become the person you want to be as a person. And that means that you're going to show up that much more as a parent, and have that a different level of connection with your kids. And like read the parenting book read the parenting book once the kid is like, you know, born, and you have like a couple weeks there where you're probably not doing anything else but taking care of the kid. But read the book then, don't read it beforehand. Instead, focus on you and becoming the best version of you that you can be. And it's so true that, you know, everything we do is just an extension of who we are, and almost a reflection of the willingness that we have to go deeper within ourselves and to unpeel those layers of the shoulds and the societal norms and the beliefs that are limiting us from getting to our fullest expression of self and authenticity. So I totally agree with you.
And that's good about the parenting books too, because like then you don't go into it. I mean, we do nothing to prepare parents to have children, like nothing. We throw them a baby shower, we get them a bunch of stuff that they don't know how to use, and there's no preparation. So I would agree with that, because then if you read those parenting books and you go into it with this preconceived idea of what it's going to be like, which is going to be totally wrong because there's always a curveball. And and it's like you said, like once you do that work and peel back the layers for yourself, what an amazing example you're setting for your children. You know, that because all the stuff you're experiencing, guess what? Your kids are going to experience it someday too, right? It's like the human plight. So better that you do the work on yourself now so that then when they come to you 30 years from now crying like, I don't know who I am, you can be like, you saw me do it, you can do it too, you know, and that's so much more powerful than just pretending that you have it all together and you just read a parenting book and like, boom, there you were, done.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, there's always going to be curveballs, and we're, especially as women, well, everybody, but you know, we're evolutionarily wired to be able to have kids. You know what I mean? Like there are things that we don't know about raising them, but there are just natural things that we, you know, are instinctual for us that we don't necessarily have to have someone else tell us. And if we can trust ourselves more and really like feel more confident in who we are and feel connected to ourselves, then we trust ourselves more to know what to do when the curveballs happen and in day to day. So yeah,
trust.
that makes so
That's a good
sense.
one. Important.
Another feminine quality that is difficult to learn. Okay, so my next question is, what is the internal resistance or things that you're facing right now that are coming up as challenges in your business or in your life?
So this one has recently changed. Like literally, if you had asked me this 4 months ago, it would have been this whole other thing. Because 4 months ago, I was like, I don't know if I can have the epic business and the epic family that I want, right? Like that was this like limiting belief that I had about having both. And that's when it became like, no, like I can have it all. You can have it all. People do this all the time. Don't limit yourself. Right now, it's probably more to do with running a business that I can wrap my arms around. That's like the example I keep giving my mentor, because there's this really delicate balance that I'm sure you understand between giving all your power away as a business owner, right? So you can like outsource stuff, you can hire amazing mentors, you can get marketing strategists, and it's super, super helpful. And then one day you're like, wait a minute, I don't even know how to run my business right now because I'm relying on so many other people to do things that I know I could do. And it obviously stems from a really pure intention of wanting to dream really big and create the best. But I think that I'm in this weird stage where I looked around like a couple weeks ago and I was like, I feel like there's an opportunity here to take some of my power back and feel more aligned with my business in a way that I feel aligned with like the message and the movement and like what it stands for and the offerings and things like that. But marketing is a hard thing because there's so many different ways you can do it and so many different people will tell you something differently. But what was feeling true for me and what was feeling just cool and exciting for me. So I'm trying to find this delicate balance where I do what makes the most sense, right? Like what will bring in the most revenue and attract my tribe and spread the message and the movement. And I do it in a way that still feels authentic and not overwhelming and not like bigger than I can handle. So, I mean, I think there's a time and a place for when the business will get like bigger than we can handle. And at that time we'll have like a team, you know, like to just handle that. But it's like when you're in the growing pains of that, it's like very much a balance of figuring out just how much to give away and just how much to keep so that at the end of the day, you don't feel overwhelmed by your business. And even if an idea is good, if it feels overwhelming, you shouldn't do it until you really have like the total support and financial wherewithal to make it happen exactly how you want it to. So maybe that's my current.
Yeah. Beautiful. I would love if you could share a little bit about how you define power, because this came up in a sister circle I was leading last night. And I was just like, how do I even explain? Like, I know what I mean, right? Like when we say bring, like call my power back or take back some of my power, it's really talking about personal power, not like that
like
negative connotation of, like dictatorship or some kind of like abusive type of power. And I was trying to explain, or I said the word and I felt like it was a trigger for some people, which was interesting. So like,
I can see how that would be.
Right. So they were saying like, I want control, but really what they were saying is I want power, because we never really have control, right? It's that sense of personal power to feel like you can deal with what comes up in the uncertainty.
Right. It's almost like power in like the feminine way, like power as in the free will and gifts that you were born with, and like the intuition, like the intuitive knowing of what's best for you. And it kind of applies to your business too. So like if I say like I gave my power away, it was more like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still the CEO of my business. I'm still making decisions, but I feel like I wasn't trusting myself as much as I have in the past and as much as I tend to, right? And I guess that really does go back to the intuitive knowing of always knowing like what's best for your business and what's best for you and what's best for your family. So I guess, power in that sense is like personal power and
that like sense of heart knowing.
Like I'm just gonna roll with intuitive knowing because that like keeps coming up for me. But it's definitely not like a control thing. It's more like a feeling aligned thing. Yeah, I feel like I really need to think about that for a long time and come back to you, because that's like a really good call. Like, you know, I know that like when I say that, you know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm talking about, but it's definitely a trigger for some people, and some people will be like, I don't know what she's talking about. So,
yeah, I've been noticing that more and more throughout my business. I don't know if you've had the same experience where certain words that we would use in our coaching communities might be misinterpreted or seen as completely different, like even feminine. Like, what does that mean? It doesn't necessarily mean dainty and girly and like ballerina. Like, it's not what it is at all. There are so many different expressions of feminine and femininity and feminine energy, and it comes in so many forms, and it's so varied, and there's such this wide spectrum of it that, but there are principles, right? I think that was just coming up when we were talking about power, is that more like soft power and not like weaker in any way, but just softer. Like it's a little more gentle. It's a little more like of an influence. It's more on an energetic level. I think for me, that's what I've been noticing is like, for me, tapping into my feminine power and energy is really about getting in line with the way I want to feel and the energy that I want to bring to the table in any situation. So if I'm starting a program or something, my process looks totally different now, which is more like, okay, how do I want these women to feel? How do I want them to experience this program? How do I want the what is the energy I need to cultivate for myself so I can sit down in meditation and like call these women in, and not like it's so different and it's so much more fun and so much less stressful. But I'm curious to hear like what if you could pick a couple things, just because also you have this lensing of motherhood, which is so feminine and so amazing, and I'm sure that you've learned so much about what it means to be a woman as becoming a mom. It's like that's probably my most exciting. I mean, this is way off for me, like way in the distance, but when I think about it, that's probably going to be the coolest part of it, is really feeling like there's a new layer of the feminine identity that you tap into as a mom. So what would you say are some of the qualities, like the feminine energetic traits that you would associate with that idea, that concept of like feminine energy as you use it in your business with the women you work with, or just in your own life?
So the question is, what are the feminine traits that I get from motherhood that help me in my business?
Yeah, or just like, because, so let me back up. So because, like we were saying, some people don't really understand what that means, right? Like feminine energy. Okay, is that like dainty? Is that like girly? So
Yeah.
how do you define feminine energy for yourself? Like what are some of the qualities or pieces of that you use for your own definition?
I mean, the number one thing that I use as a mother, as a business owner, as a human being, as a coach, it's always been intuition. And that, like you were saying, like when you become a mom, you just intuitively know, da, da, da. Totally true. And I think what goes hand in hand with that is trusting, this idea of trusting that intuition, really, and trusting yourself. And that obviously parlays into your business and as a coach and as a mom. I'm trying to think of what else, because I mean, I became a totally different person when I had children, and it shocked me. When I had child. One. Yeah, because I mean, I think I am, you know, at the core, I'm the same, but talk about peeling back layers and being more vulnerable in life and business. Again, I've always been sensitive. I've always been, you know, rather vulnerable, but I find that my vulnerability is what attracts the people that I want to meet to me. And again, it is almost like a powerful thing to use, and not as in like I can control people to come to me when I am vulnerable, but it's like this is just a piece of who I am. And by trusting that it's okay to be vulnerable and be my intuitive self, I always feel like that sense of groundedness, that sense of alignment, that sense of fully authentically myself. And then that goes across the board. It, you know, applies to my business, my coaching, my friends, and my family.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I know that was a little off.
No, that's fine. Good question.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned this before, and I know that you have a lot of sisterhood in your life, in your business. And I'm curious to know what your experience has been in sisterhood, what that has looked like for you, and what you've learned through those experiences, and maybe like how you've grown. Just anything you want to share around that, because I know there's so much.
Sisterhood, I love it. Want more sisterhood all the time. Sisterhood, I mean, I've had it my whole life, but I didn't really know what it was. You know, I was really lucky that I grew up with a core group of cousins on both sides of my family who were very, very, very close to me. And I think they really shaped me into this very confident young girl, because I always had, you know, like my cousin Lauren, like we were always together. And so I never had this sense of insecurity. And I talk about this with my mom. I'm like, how come I was just born this way, where you know, peer pressure like never worked for me. I was like, that's stupid. No, you know, but I think it's because I had my friend over here who just always had my back, and we were just always together. And I just needed, if it was the two of us, we were fine. Right. So I've always been a girl's girl. I have like tons of girlfriends and love having girlfriends. But then when I became an entrepreneur, that was seriously lacking in my life. And I was super lonely and felt like, you know, they say like entrepreneurship is like you're alone on an island and you just don't know anything or anybody. And that's kind of what it felt like. None of my friends who I had grown up with or had in my town were really entrepreneurs, and definitely not online, you know, not in the space that I was in, that we are in. So I found Sisterhood through Boss School, which is Hello Fearless's program. And that was life-changing for me. Even like just for the support alone, I connected with so many women there. And then we would start, like we had our sister circle calls, and then we would start, you kind of connect with some people naturally through the program, and you'd start your own threads with them and texting with them. And anytime you have a crisis or whatever, you're nervous. And then I had we went to our first retreat this summer in California, and that was in-person sisterhood with all these entrepreneurs, and that was just this whole other level. But it's really, really, really given me, like what I said after this last retreat that we went to, which was 2 months ago, I said, every time I meet new women, I'm like, I don't have the space in my heart. Like I have too many people in my life. Like I don't have time. I don't have space. Like I don't have room for more love, like more sisterhood. Like how much sisterhood can somebody have? And then as we were leaving that retreat, I was like, and now like somehow it actually feels like my heart grew bigger and I made room. And I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it was like the only way I could describe it. And I felt so close to these women because even though you spend such short amounts of time with them, they just see you they see you how you want to be seen, right? They see like what you're building and your dream, and they are like holding your vision for you, which is so, so, so powerful. And, when I'm like going in to pitch an investor, like they're the girls that are on a text thread, like, you got this, like, don't worry, like they totally, totally get it. And they've been with me from the beginning till now. So, they've just been with me on this journey. And then a step further, it's like with my Reclaim You program, we just finished the first group of 12 women. And again, I was like, I don't have room for more. And then by the end of the program, the 8 weeks, all these women are just saying such beautiful things to each other and supporting each other and, seeing each other through that clean filter, right? Because the way we see ourselves sometimes is so horrible and so negative, and the negative self-talk and self-love is really something that is like an epidemic. I feel like there is not enough self-love in this world. And even though it might sound like a cliche term, there is some serious work to be done with self-love, and especially with women, as you know. And I really think that sisterhood is the vehicle to help make that happen, because when you're with a group of women so intimately, sharing super honestly and openly and being your most vulnerable and authentic self, and somebody sees you and loves you and acts as a mirror, like holds up that mirror and is like, this is what I see and it's amazing. It really does the hard work that starts to slowly like peel back the layers, where somebody's like, oh, I am amazing. So I think sisterhood it's like Nisha Moodley says, like, sisterhood is the key. Like, it really is the key, I think.
I agree. I love that you said that about your heart expanding. I felt the exact same sensation.
Really?
And it feels so corny to say.
I know.
But it really is. Like, I felt the exact same thing when I ended my Freedom is Sexy program recently. It was like these women in sisterhood together. Like, I couldn't have designed it better. Like, I couldn't have anticipated that those connections would form. And I don't even know if I was like that super hands-on about it. It was that they were craving it, and that they created it within each other, for each other, with each other. And it was the most beautiful thing in the world. And I was like, can I work with more women like in this program, or is this the capacity that I want to go with for now, from now on? And, once I could see what had happened for them over the past 8 weeks, it was like, oh my God, like, of course I have to do more of this. Like, of course I'll have capacity. Of course I'm reaching another growth edge. And I feel like I've been noticing a lot lately for myself and in business and for other women. It's like those glass ceilings for ourselves, which you were describing perfectly, of like, I don't really have enough space for that. Like, or can I really afford that? Or should I really invest in that? Or whatever the thing is that's coming up, can I afford to move to a nicer apartment? Or whatever.
Always.
Do I deserve this amazing man? Do I have
Can I
space
have
for
it
more female
all?
friends? Can I
Am
have it all,
pushing it right
basically?
now? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've been going through a lot of that lately, and it just feels like, that space of sisterhood really kind of affirms, like, yes, you can actually, and here's what I see is your capability and your potential, and you are going to do it, and here's what it looks like, and here's why you can do it, and you bring this energy, and it's amazing, and here's your superpower, and like all these amazing things about yourself that you're like, oh, okay, I guess I really can. And I'm going to freaking go do it now because I feel so lit up. And it's really that sensation of like heart expansion. There's no other way to describe it. It's really just like your capacity to love and to receive love, to give love, to be grateful, to feel like you love yourself so much, and not in a creepy, weird way, but like really just a constructive, amazing, beautiful, profound way.
A necessary way too.
Yes. And the only way that you will be able to do more and be great, right? Like you can't do it without that fuel. So
and the ego will always come up with reasons why you can't, is the thing that I've realized. Like there's always reasons why it could go wrong, or it might not work, or it might be hard. And we tend to just, it's almost like we're trained up from a young age to listen to that voice, like the mind chatter, the monkey brain. And as soon as you just trust that you can handle it and listen to this other voice, like the one in your heart that's like, this feels really good, I want to lean into this, that's where, you push the edge and you peel back another layer that you didn't even know was there. So
yes, exactly.
I'm gonna plug in my computer, just 1 second. Okay. Sorry, it's gonna die because
no worries. I was thinking about the fact that there's no, like with each growth edge and new level, because I'm really thinking lately about really up leveling, and that's the word that keeps coming, is that sense of like up leveling. And it's a constant thing that we, like when we're moving up in any area, there's constantly new levels to reach and glass ceilings to shatter for ourselves in our own minds. And our own capacity is then tested, and it has to grow. And that's the thing, is like there will always be new fears or new objections and new crap that your mind makes up. And when it was this, when it was one thing before, it's now something else when you have the new thing. So like for me, relationships have been a big thing lately. So before it was like, okay, well, is there something that's more fulfilling? Is this, am I settling? Or, whatever. And then, okay, did a lot of work, did a lot of inner work, sisterhood, inner work. And then it's like, okay, the space is there. Now the guys are coming in, and it's like, okay, wow, amazing. Where were you before? And then, oh my God, can I not F it up? Like, can I actually do this? Can I show up fully? Can I really be the partner for this person who's amazing? Like those types of questions now are the ones that are coming up. So there's always a new level of resistance that we have to, and without the space that's safe for us to not see or not give into that, let's say, right? To not believe the stuff that our ego mind is saying, but to have a sacred container where we can come, that's sisterhood, to be able to kind of like cleanse that and replace it with these other empowering beliefs and views of ourselves and views of what's possible, I think is like the most beautiful, important thing we can do for ourselves as women.
Totally. And you can, right? Like you can do all of those things that you just said. Also, I kind of am like, what's going on in your life? I want to know. But yeah, you can, like I said, for every good reason you're going to think of why you're going to like fuck it up, like there's 5 ways or reasons why you are exactly where you need to be with the person you need to be with. You don't need to be anybody different. Like you can just be yourself, and be perfect, right? Just trusting that. I keep saying that, but it's really
trust, everyone. This is the main takeaway. Trust. If nothing else, just
trust yourself, though, for real.
Okay, my final question is, what do you love about being a woman?
Oh my gosh. Everything except, well, I'm trying to reframe this belief for the future, but I was gonna say everything except being pregnant because a lot of people, you know, some people like love being pregnant and some people have had less than awesome experiences with it. And that was my experience with my daughter, Aria. And before it becomes an issue next go around, I'm trying to like reframe that. But aside from that, I feel like women, well, first of all, you've got this like sisterhood thing going on, which I really feel like is slowly permeating the globe, and men are like, what's going on? No. And they really don't have anything close. I mean, nothing close to it. And I just love like gosh, so many things. I don't even know how to like put into words, but I love the power of being a woman. Like I love that I can be a mom and a CEO and a best friend and have like the sisterhood and the deep relationship and, you know, dress up and have, you know, that sensual aspect of being a woman while also, you know, change my hat and do the masculine, you know, like do the power suit thing. And I feel like men, they don't have as much freedom to change hats. And I mean, I guess they have the freedom, they just, it doesn't feel safe to use it yet, perhaps, you know, like not to overuse feminine masculine, but I feel like men have a harder time not just being this way, you know, like even like a guy crying is like, oh my gosh, he was crying. Can you believe he's so sensitive? And it's like, well, he's a human being. Like I imagine it can't be so different. I mean, I get there's hormones at play for women, but come on, you know, how do you not cry if you're a guy? And I mean, I cry on the reg, like all the time. Like I'm a super sensitive, super emotional human being. And I love that I can do that and just be fully expressed as this big waterworks, you know, woman over here. And then the next day go pitch an investor. And then the next day, you know, host a workshop. And the next day stay at home with my daughter in PJs and like be a mom. And I just feel like we're at this unique time where we get to really play a lot more with the full range of what it means to be a human being. It feels a little bit safer and we're always like pushing those boundaries, whereas men, it's not quite safe yet. It doesn't feel like, you know, they need somebody to set them free, and I'm busy, you're busy, so somebody else has got to do it. So yeah, I guess that would be the best part, is that full expression.
Beautiful. I love that. And I think also as women, we have that power when we first discover how to do that for ourselves, to give our men the permission, like the men in our lives, the permission to do the same and influence them by leading by example as well, to kind of stretch what they think is possible, and the breadth and the width and the depth and the spectrum of what they think it looks like to be a man in the world. And I think that's really beautiful and such a cool contribution, just because we have so much like energetic leadership as women is the only way I can think to put it, like that influence and that natural impact just by other people observing what we're doing and how we're being and how they feel in our presence, because they do come to us to feel and to especially I think men come to women to really feel and feel safe to do that when they feel like they trust the woman that they're with, right? It's like that space where they can cry, or they can tell the truth finally, or they can
themselves without putting up a front. Or no, you're right, that's true. That is like this amazing opportunity for women to change that for men by giving each partner permission to feel that full spectrum. So totally right. I love that. And I definitely feel like we work on that in my relationship always. It's like, and helping him like dream bigger and feel deeper and, you know, push harder and slow down and all of it. So
yeah, just have more flexibility instead of such a linear like tunnel push hard and get it done view. So it's almost like when we restore our feminine energetic balance, we also give permission to men to do the same thing. And I think that's why I feel so passionately about this, is because it will really set the world free, like everybody, not just like me or you or the people in our lives or the people we work with or the men, but literally it's a widespread ripple effect that really shifts the global consciousness and the freedom that each individual can feel, which, you know, freedom on a global and societal level is really just, it has to start with individuals first. It can't just, you know, it's not like someone's going to be like, okay, like all of a sudden the world is free, go be. Like no one would know what to do and what that even means. And no one would want that necessarily because they're not sure what it is. So I think that's the key here, is really that like ripple effect of women in sisterhood, in how that affects every single other person in their life, and just has a beautiful ripple effect of permission to be free and be more of your full self, and to reclaim that spectrum of what it means to be you, whether that's man, woman, child, elderly, grandmother, whatever it is, whoever you are. It's that, you know, reclaiming and permission to be all of it.
Yeah, totally. Love that. It's so beautiful. And it's true. It just like, it always starts with you. Like every time you're wondering like, why doesn't somebody, or what's wrong with him? It's like, it always starts with you. So that's a good point.
Is there anything else you would like to share or touch on that I didn't ask you or that didn't come up?
No, I feel like that was a lovely chat. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. And I will post all the links below this video for anyone who's interested in joining the Reclaim You program or just catching up with Gervase otherwise. I'm sure she has some cool goodies on her website to share. It just relaunched and it's beautiful. I'm having major website envy and loving it every time.
Still designing things for it, but
it's amazing.
Thank you.
So if you haven't been there yet, go play and explore what she has. Lots of great content and videos. Yeah.
And if you sign up for, there's different places to sign up on the website, but once you sign up, you'll get a welcome email, and that will give you a link to join your Mommy Soul Tribe Facebook group. So I've had people ask me like, what is this Mommy Soul Tribe? Like, how do I join? And that's how you do it. If you join through the website, sign up, then you'll get the invitation in your email. And we've got this lovely little Facebook group going with lots of new mamas sharing and starting that sisterhood, you know, another one. So my heart can grow even bigger.
Yay. Cheers to heart expansion. And all right, ladies, thank you for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you and hear from you and connect with you in the comments and in the future in any other way. We love you. Have a great, beautiful week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.